ERAVWR is likely a name you are familiar with, especially if you have seen my Monkey Jones video and know of him through that way. Elliot was a 22-year-old college student who committed the 2014 Isla Vista killings, becoming one of the first notable incel killers and causing more infamy to this group of people. So, why did he do this? Who was at fault? Was it preventable? And what was his plan? And did he succeed? ERAVWR was born in London, England, on July 24, 1991, to parents Lee Chin and relatively notable British filmmaker Peter Roger, mostly known for his work on the 2012 film The Hunger Games. Elliot's very young childhood was very happy, with him being able to travel a lot in his youth, a fact he was very egotistical about, travelling to 6 different countries before the age of 5. Elliot would not remain in England for long, moving with his family to Los Angeles in California at the age of 5. His early life in the United States was also a happy time for him, with his first friend being Maddie Humphreys, who was the only girl his age that he saw naked, with them bathing together one time. At the age of 6, he would meet his best friend of 14 years, James Ellis, and had some of the best times of his life at Topanga Elementary School. However, at the time of turning 7 years old, Elliot's life soon changed drastically, with his mother telling Elliot that she and Elliot's father were getting a divorce, an idea only a few months prior she had completely rejected to Elliot. The main result of this was the emergence of a new figure into his life, his father's new girlfriend Sumaya. The relationship between Elliot and Sumaya was initially very pleasant, although this soon faded due to the level of discipline she forced on Elliot, something he believed she had no right to do, as she was not his birth mother. Things again got worse at the age of 9, with him starting to feel less socially accepted and inadequate for 2 main reasons. The first of these was that his best friend James seemed to be more interested in his other group of friends, whom Elliot did not like, as well as his other friend Maddie, who was more interested in spending time with Elliot's younger sister Georgia. The second of these is that Elliot began to realise that he wasn't a cool kid, and decided to move away from one of his major hobbies, Pokemon, onto skateboarding, a sport he wasn't very good at. This was further worsened by his growing animosity to Sumaya, making him dread having to stay over at his father's house. The realisation of not being a cool kid continued into middle school at the age of 11, now seeing the cool kids attracting female attention, something he couldn't get due to his stature and attitude, stating, "The girls don't flock to the gentleman, they flock to the alpha male. They flock to the boys who appear to have the most power and status." His first inklings of hatred towards women began around this time too, whilst in summer camp, where he accidentally bumped into a girl whom he found pretty, who proceeded to get angry at him, making him feel insignificant and become cautious of women, with this incident apparently ruining a part of his life. At the age of 12, things began to look up for Elliot, with him hanging out with his friends, often either at his house, a cyber cafe, or skateboarding, with him later finding out that his father and Sumaya would be having a child, something Elliot was elated about, with Sumaya giving birth to Jazz when Elliot was 13. However, things began to go back downhill, with him becoming distant from his friends, leaving his social life dead. He had also become known as the weird kid at school, an act he would try to keep up to be infamous. This led to an incident where a group of girls, particularly one whom he had a crush on, began to make fun of him, with him now seeing women as cruel, heartless creatures. Even with Elliot starting high school, things did not get any better, with his bullying increasing, mainly due to his small stature making him an easy target, especially to the older kids, who would call him names, throw food at him, and take his belongings. The problem with his stature had become a thing that was haunting him, with it being something that had troubled him back to the age of 6. Things continued to worsen even after leaving conventional high school, with Elliot's father leaving to travel the world to produce his own film titled Oh My God, in which he invested all of his money into. Elliot was now stuck with Sumaya, with tensions increasing between them, with Elliot refusing to do anything other than play World of Warcraft. He sank into a deep depression, feeling inferior, and eventually grew angry, believing sex needed to be abolished, and to do this he needed to become a dictator. A plan so stupid and naive, Elliot was able to realise himself how stupid this was. Elliot's parents began to notice the change with him, and devised a plan. He and Sumaya, a woman he hated, were to go on vacation to Morocco, a place he hated. Elliot tried to escape from this vacation by running out on the day, a plan which soon failed when his father ran after him, and he gave up. When he arrived at Morocco, he began crying and emailing his mother for a week straight, begging to return and stating that he would improve himself if allowed to return. His mother relented and allowed him to come back, and after a period of continuing to brood, he decided to actually make a change, getting a haircut and getting one pair of jeans. Elliot's tactic of getting a girlfriend was one of such high quality of genius, I don't think you'll believe it. Elliot would walk around and wait for people to approach him. Yes, you heard that right. He would only wait for people to approach him. You know, this reminds me of a certain someone else, but I just can't quite put my finger on them. Well, anyway, is it really a surprise that this did not work? When Sumaya returned from Morocco, she was understandably upset at Elliot, and then kicked him out of his father's house, even forbidding short visits. Elliot now saw his father as a weak man, losing all respect for him, stating, quote, "That bitch must be really good in bed." Which is a really weird thought about not only your father, but the stepmother who has looked after you for around 11 years. I guess with Elliot being obsessed with sex, it's not too surprising, but still, ew. Elliot's respect to his father lessened even further due to his film, Oh My God, coming out, being a flop, essentially losing all of his money, something that Elliot resented about him. In emails uncovered by someone called A Cruel World and sent to and presented by Mumky Jones, the financial crisis caused by Oh My God caused Elliot's parents to fight, with Elliot's mother Chin asking for financial help with Elliot, with Peter unable to. With Elliot in the middle of this, he lashed out, insulting his father in an email to him, and continuing to discuss his hatred for Sumaya and what a weak man his father was. With his new attempt on improving his life, on Halloween he found a house party on Facebook, despite not actually knowing anybody that would be attending. He then proceeded to walk 45 minutes to get to the party and had to pay an entry fee of $5 to enter, which, despite his anxiety, he did and entered the house. To Elliot's dismay, what he had thought would have been a huge house party was actually quite small, with just a few people smoking marijuana who all knew each other. So, after standing around awkwardly for a few minutes, knowing he was an outcast, he decided to leave the party and going on the 45-minute walk back home, with this whole attempt at socialization being a complete failure. To make matters worse for Elliot, a pickup truck did a drive-by egging of him, angering Elliot, with him resorting to throwing one of the eggshells at the truck, causing the four men to exit the vehicle and approach him, with him pulling out his pocket knife to scare them off, and then running back home. So, from Elliot's Halloween adventure, he wasted over an hour of his life, $5, and nearly got covered in egg. However, there were actually some positives from this, with Elliot then going to the gym in order to build muscle to not seem like such an easy target, as well as to attract women. After school, Elliot was doing nothing. He briefly went to community college, where he took one class, and because he had to take the bus and didn't interact with anyone, he quit. His mother then forced him to get a job, although Elliot would refuse every available job, stating, "I am an intellectual who is destined for greatness. I would never perform a low-class service job." By the way, Elliot said that he had a low self-esteem, which doesn't seem very believable to me. During his job search, he helped one of his father's friends build a staircase. After finishing the job, he returned to his father's home, recently being allowed to return, and got himself a glass of water. Sumaya noticed Elliot enter, and grew angry over the fact that he did not knock, demanding he leave and knock. After refusing to do this, Sumaya allegedly smacked the glass out of Elliot's hand, with it smashing on the floor, catching the attention of Peter, who, siding with Sumaya, kicked Elliot out of the house, with Peter being dead to Elliot for a time because of this. After his brief job, Elliot then went to another college, with his mother giving him the idea to become a writer, an idea that Elliot was actually interested in. Well, for about 5 minutes, after seeing that it took effort and time, which he decided wouldn't help with his love quest. I mean, losing his virginity. Going to the college also didn't last long, with him giving up because there was a couple in his class. To appease his mother, he got a job without knowing what it was, with him finding out on the day that it was a cleaning job, quitting it within that same day, feeling as though it was beneath him and his intellect.